What's up, you guys? If you're heading to Ghana anytime soon and you're wondering how much you should budget for the trip, how much to take with you, I got you covered in this video, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the budgeting in terms of different buckets. So we're going to look at flights to Ghana, accommodation, transportation for in-country, food, activities, and beauty. And by beauty, I mean hair. Okay? All right, so I'm going to be dropping some estimates based on my own experience visiting Ghana in December 2022 and also based on some quick research that I did on the interwebs. So first off, let's talk about flights. So this one, I'm not going to dive into it too much because it is really going to depend on where you're coming from, what airports you have access to, and the whole nine. For me, I flew in from Austin, Texas, USA. I spent $1,500 to get to Ghana. I had two layovers, one in Chicago and another one in Europe in Brussels. So yeah, if you're coming from somewhere like New York where you have access to JFK Airport, airport in New Jersey and Philly, obviously you're more likely going to pay less than me. All right, let's talk about accommodations. So for this one, I had to solicit the help of Booking.com and Airbnb. So I am actually going to be looking down a bit because I wrote some numbers down and I don't know them off the top of my head. So let's get into it. All right, so according to Booking.com, for a 3-star hotel in Ghana, in Accra specifically, you can expect to pay $105 per night. And then for a 4-star, you can expect to pay $192 per night. And then for a 5-star, you're looking at $331 per night. So coming in along with similar data from Airbnb, you're looking at a villa in Accra for $170 per night. I will say these numbers, especially on the lower end of $105 per night, is consistent with my experience in Ghana December 2022. So for me, I stayed at a apartment complex that I booked via Airbnb. The place is called Embassy Gardens. It is located in a quiet, secure, and safe community where they have a lot of embassies in Ghana, and the place is called Cantonment. And I got a studio apartment. For 10 nights, I paid $1,100, which was about $110 per night. And that total was split between me and my cousin because I went with her. So if you are going to Ghana using 10 days as a point of reference, you can expect to pay anywhere from $1,000 in total to $3,000 in total for your 10-night stay. Ranging from low and high end. Obviously you can get hotels or accommodations cheaper than that or more expensive than that, but these are just general averages. All right, so now let's talk transportation. This is also going to depend on a lot of factors. For instance, where you're going to be staying, how often you're going to be moving around, what are your activities, are you primarily going to be in Accra or are you going to be making out of town trips? All of these things are going to factor into that. I will do a separate video that will deep dive into different transportation options in Accra, in Ghana. But for now, let's look at some of the options and talk about those in terms of cost. So the cheapest transportation option in Ghana are local minibuses known as trochers, which is very popular among the local people there. For a 30-minute ride using a trochero, you can expect to pay on the average 3 Ghana cedis, which is equivalent to about 21 US cents. That's how cheap it is. Now, even though it's super cheap, it's not the safest, most convenient, or most comfortable option. I personally would not recommend this as a primary transportation option in Ghana. But if you want to do it maybe once or twice for the experience, I would highly say go for it. When I was in Ghana last year, I did it for the experience. For me, it was more like a throwback thing because I grew up in Liberia and we had similar buses I used to ride those buses when I was younger, so it was more of like a feeling of throwback more so than anything. So your most expensive transportation option in Ghana are going to be hiring a private driver or using taxis. Either taxi or private driver, it could be cheaper or expensive. It just really depends on who you know and how well you're able to negotiate. Now, rideshare is what a lot of people do when they're going Ghana, especially visiting in December. And you have three most common rideshare apps in Ghana. They're Uber, Bolt, and Yango. Yango is not so much popular among people visiting Ghana, but like Bolt and Uber are the most common. Now, both tend to be generally cheaper than Uber. Yango is the cheapest, and from my experience though, I would say there wasn't a lot of difference between Bolt and Uber, but Bolt has a wider spread in Ghana than Uber does. I personally use Uber most of the times. Maybe it was just a thing of familiarity because I'm used to using Uber in the US. I don't know, but that's what I did most of the time. Okay, so using Uber as our point of reference, let's take an example to give you an idea of how much transportation costs in Ghana. I would say, from my experience, using Uber or rideshare is generally really inexpensive in Ghana. So I would say that is a great option for you. But let's take a look at some reference from Uber. So let's use Osu Castle and the Legon Botanical Gardens as our points of reference because those are two popular locations for tourist attractions. So let's say we're leaving from Osu Castle to go to Legon Botanical Gardens, which is about a 30 minutes ride or 16 to 20 kilometers, which is also about 9 to 10 miles. You're looking at 45 to 56 cedis for one way, which is about $4 to $5 US. So let's say in a day you do three 30 minutes round trip. Okay, so each way you pay $5 US. So round trip for one 30 minutes ride would be $10 US. So if you do that 3 times in a day, that will be $30 US. I think that's a great way to budget for your trip because it's obviously going to vary. Like if you live in somewhere like Osu and most of your activities are going to be nightlife activities, you may not have to spend so much money on transportation because Osu is the heart of nightlife in Accra. So there are going to be variations, but I think using the 30 minutes drive as a point of reference and just estimating that you're going to take 3 round trip transportations a day, I think that's a great way to budget. So with that in mind, we can say if you're going to spend 10 days in Ghana, you should budget around $300 for transportation. Now, if you are going to be doing some out-of-town visits, like if you're going to go to Elmina, Aburi, that type of places, your transportation is going to be, a little bit more expensive. Now, most people who are going to Elmina or Cape Coast, they tend to hire private transport for round trip, which is what I would recommend. I personally have never used Uber to go to Cape Coast or Elmina, but maybe that's something you can look into. I don't know if you have used Uber to go to Elmina or Cape Coast. Please let us know in the comment section how your experience was. But typically, you should expect to pay $150 US if you're going to be hiring a private driver, which is what I did. So if we add the 300 to the 150, probably looking around $450 US, as a estimating a little bit on the high side, which is what I personally tend to do. It's always better, in my opinion, to bring money back than to go and be scrambling for money. All right, let's go into food, my favorite part of this discussion. So food also will depend on a lot of different factors: how often you're going to be eating, what kind of cuisines you're going to be eating, where you're going to be eating, all of that stuff. So obviously, if you're going to be eating like local food at local joints, you're going to spend way less money than if you're eating like, I don't know, foreign food at like 5-star restaurants or like luxurious or upscale restaurants. You know what I'm saying? For me, I pretty much ate only Ghanaian food when I was in Ghana. When I went to Ghana, I went with absolutely no intention to eat any other cuisine because I love Ghanaian food and I was missing the authentic thing for so long. So for me, I was like, it's gonna be Ghanaian food all day, every day. So I also did a little bit of a high-low situation where I ate at local joints and I also ate at like semi-upscale restaurants. I think the most like upscale restaurant I ate at was Buka, which wasn't really expensive. It was quite affordable. I think if I remember correctly, the most expensive food item was probably around 200 cedis, which is like I don't know how much was it. I'll leave the conversion on the screen for you guys. But yeah. Anyway, so for me, I ate like 1 to 2 times a day, and I would say honestly, I spent probably tops $200 on food for the 10 days I spent there. I didn't really spend a lot of money on food. Food was my least expensive expenditure. However, I did drink a lot of cocktails, and cocktails in Ghana are not the cheapest. So that's where I would say I spend more money. And if I estimate, I put like, if you include the cocktails and the food, I put like probably maximum like $350, honestly. So I would say for food in Ghana, your budget for a 10-day stay could be as low as $10 a day if you're eating 3 meals at local joints, or it could be as high as $90 a day if you're eating 3 meals at like expensive or semi-luxurious or luxurious restaurants. So let's talk about activities. Obviously, everything is going to vary, right? So for me, I would say my biggest expenditure on activities was the Afrochella concert. And by the way, they are now known as Afrofuture. They changed their name. So I spent $260 for general admissions, which was my highest activity. And the next up in line was going to Countdown Africa, which is a New Year's Eve party that was hosted by Michael Blackson. They had Sarkodie performing, which was pretty cool. I paid for general admissions also for $10. Now, side note, if you're going to Afrofuture and you're wondering if you should buy VIP or general admissions, my personal opinion is general admissions, because I met so many people that paid for VIP and we all ended up mingling in the same area. I think the main benefit of VIP is like avoiding long lines and having like quicker access to enter. But honestly, if you go early through general admissions, you should be just fine. So my opinion is save yourself some money. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, yeah, so Afrochella, Michael Blackson, Countdown Africa event, and then the other places I went, the admissions were so cheap. Like Legon Botanical Garden, the admissions is like 20 cedis per adult or something. So I would say tops, like maximum, I spent what did I write down? $350 on activities. Let's talk about beauty or hair. So for me, this is where I was wilding out in Ghana, okay? So I did my hair 3 times in 10 days. Kind of being ridiculous, but whatever. So when I went, I had this outfit in my head that I was going to do Bantu Nuts for the concert, for Afrochella, Afrofuture. Okay, so I did the Bantu Nuts. I hated how it looked on me. I was like, I'm not vibing with this look. So I took the hair down before the concert. So I ended up using a wig that I brought with me from the US. Okay, so I think I paid $60 for the Bantu Nuts, and then I tipped $20, so it was about 80. Then after the concert, I went and got Passion Twist. And when I went to get the Passion Twist, I had them wash my hair, conditioned it. They gave me like this bomb scalp massage, and I think I paid about $100 for that. And then when I was leaving Ghana, I had them take my Passion Twist down, wash my hair, condition my hair, and then reinstall butterfly locks. And that probably was like, no, I think the Passion Twist was $80, and the butterfly locks with the takedown and everything was $100. So I would say tops on hair, I spent 240 US dollars, which for me was like wilding out, because in the US, $240 is like one hair. But the fact that I had like hair was so affordable in Ghana, I was like, I'm just gonna do my thing here. So you probably don't need to spend that much money if you're only gonna get your hair done one time. If you're only getting your hair done one time, honestly, you should expect to pay anywhere between 80 to 100. And if you go like, if you find some spot, some like local spot, you could spend lower than that. But honestly, there are so many like nice salons in Ghana that you can get your hair done for $80, $100. So I would say, why not treat yourself, you know? Anyway, okay, so now let's run some total estimates based on how much I spent first, and then we're going to talk about general total estimates for somebody who's traveling to Ghana as a solo traveler, where you're not going to be splitting the bills with anyone else. So let's talk about my estimates first. So for flight, I paid $1,500. Accommodation, I paid $550, but that was $1,100 split between my cousin and I. Activities, $350. Food and drinks, $350. Tip, that was $200. Transportation, I would say about $250, and this is because my cousin and I pretty much split the cost for transportation. Hair, I would say $240. So estimated, I spent $3,700, and then without flight, my estimate was $2,200. So how much I took with me to Ghana, I budgeted $1,500, which was about 150 US dollars per day. I would say I heard a lot of people, some people were budgeting like $3,000 for 8-day stay to use in Ghana. I personally think that is way too much money, but really and truly, it all depends on what you're trying to do there. If you're trying to get like VIP sessions, you know, bottle services and all those things when you're in the club, then yeah, maybe. But if you're trying to just do like basic general admission stuff, then you should be fine with a budget of like 1,000 to 1,500 for a 10-day stay. If you're a guy, that's a whole different story, because you all like to buy drinks for women and you like to take women eating, so probably your budget might be a little bit higher. But for my girls, I think $1,000 for a 10-day stay is okay. It's just fine. All right, so now let's do some estimates based on a single person. You're traveling alone, you're not splitting the bill with anyone else. Let's talk about that. So accommodation, let's say 1,000 to 3,000. Transportation, $200 to $500. Food, $100 to $500. Activities, 300 to 1,000. Beauty stuff, 120 to 300, with a total of 1,700 to 5,300. I didn't include flights because that is really gonna vary. If you're coming from like, I don't know, freaking Nigeria, you're gonna spend less than somebody who's going from the UK, you know what I mean? So I just left out flights. But yeah, I would say if you're a single person traveling to Ghana alone, excluding flight, your budget could be anywhere from 1,700 to 5,300, depending on where you're gonna eat, what kind of activities, what, like how frequently you're going to go out of town and all that jazz. I hope this video helps somebody have an idea of how much to budget for your trip to Ghana. If you went to Ghana anytime recently, how much did you spend? Let us know in the comment section how much you spend on food, transportation, flight, the whole nine. And are these numbers consistent with what you experienced? Let us know. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Until then, peace.